From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. My, oh my, our Mariners bounce back with a weekend sweep. There might be frozen envelopes again in the NBA. And Scotty Scheffler is leaving the competitors in the dust. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. We got to give a huge shout out to our super producer, Indy, out there in Nashville, Tennessee, rocking the ones and twos. That's Vaden Podcast Services. Vaden Podcast Services. They bring this show to life. I want to give a huge shout out to all the homies in the live chat. You guys are always telling jokes, dropping knowledge. You bring an energy to the show that we truly appreciate. But of course, the best co-host a dude could ask for. He is cooler than the other side of the pillow. RG, what's going on, man?
On the road doing shows, put my Mac down, Mississippi to Philly, Albuquerque to Chat-Town. Let's get to work, y'all.
Let's do it, baby. Well, we got a very, very special guest today. He is one of the content creators for the Facebook page Romantic About Baseball. They also have come out with a podcast recently that's Romantic About Baseball. Nico, welcome to the show and tell the people anything you want about your page and podcast here.
All right, guys. Well, hey, first of all, thanks for having me on, man. It's really cool to be on with all my fellow Mariners fans. I don't get this opportunity too often here, coming from the Northeast. I come from a different region with Red Sox and Yankees and Mets, and not too many Mariners fans out there. So it's a real treat to be able to talk some Mariners with some guys that actually, follow the team and cheer for the team. But yeah, so yeah, romantic about baseball. Our content creator is actually Jason Wood. He created the page about a year and a half ago, a little bit before the 2024 MLB season. And we just recently started a podcast after the first week of the baseball season, where we just kind of go over our weekly review of the baseball week that was, and just give our analysis on some of the action that happened. And a little bit about our Facebook page. It's more so geared towards some of the nostalgia of baseball, some of the history of baseball. We try to sort of merge the past with the present when it comes to the game that we love so much. We're trying to cover the game more now that we have more of a team together. We've got a group of guys, that consist of like 6, 7, 8 of us who, create daily content on the page. And we do, like I said, a weekly podcast, same thing as you guys on Sunday evenings, as well as some special content. We actually interviewed a couple baseball authors in the last couple weeks. So if any of your viewers are listening, definitely check out our RIB podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, and of course YouTube. But it's growing a lot. We've got about almost 55,000 followers on the page. We're building something really special, and I just appreciate the opportunity to come on with you guys and talk some baseball and help promote your show as well as mine. So just I'm pumped to talk some baseball with you guys and see what you guys think about our 25 Mariners and everything else that's going on in the league so far.
Well, all
No
right,
doubt,
man.
man.
Happy to hear that you guys are having success. Now, when you talk about nostalgia in the game and trying to bring it and relate it to the current, what are some of the current topics that you talk about with trying to bridge that gap with it? Because for us, we like to talk about Edgar a lot, especially since he still has involvement with the team. We talk about Dan Wilson and the reign that he had behind the dish for us. And of course, anything that really has to do with Mariner talks, we're talking about George himself, Ken Griffey Jr. So again,
That's right.
tell us some of the things that you've done to kind of bridge the gap for those of us who have been around since the mid 90s to some of us who may not have any recollection of the Kingdom at all?
Yeah, so we try to what we try to do is we try to emulate some of the old school nostalgia regarding statistics and some of those classic, World Series games, and dating back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and so forth. Our creator Jason does a really good job of sort of creating, randomized statistics from those days, as well as sort of merging it into today's game. And I try to incorporate as much Mariners baseball as I can. I'm the only Mariners fan on the page and on the podcast, but I like what you said there with Griffey, Edgar. We've created some content with some of those guys, and like I said, we try to bridge the gap between the history of the game and bringing it to the present game, and sort of the royalty of the history of it. And obviously, we just did a show and we talked a little bit about Pete Rose and Black Sox scandal that occurred, back in 1919, and then obviously with Pete Rose passing away last fall, we talked about fame chances, and thought about that topic of a sensitive. Not so much for me. I well is merit-based game. We're gonna guys into the Hall of Fame should do it based off of, I understand committed a cardinal sin when it comes to sports gambling. And, at the time it meant, giving him a lifetime ban, but the overall treatment with Pete Rose and the 30-year, ongoing saga with him, as well as that 1919 Black Sox team that, threw the World Series. If you guys recall, I mean, it's sort of silly. It was over 100 years ago, but they finally reinstated that, Shoeless Joe Jackson, as well as many others on that team. So really with the Facebook page, man, we're trying to connect with people who love baseball, love the history of it, as well as covering the present game and, the allure of baseball in the past versus baseball today.
There's some good stuff there, man. Good stuff there. I think a lot about the Pete Rose, and especially with the Shoeless Joe Jackson thing. And I don't like when we put these legends in positions where we can only give them flowers when they can no longer smell them. Do you think that, and we try not to get into too many political topics here, but do you think that when the commander in chief happened to call out Major League Baseball about Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, that proactively made Manfred change his decision? And then it just so happened that unfortunately Pete Rose passed between the time of the commander in chief's tweet and the decision to rescind their Hall of Fame status. What do you think about that?
Good. Certainly seems like, Rob make the decision, because look at Pete passed away last, been gone now for since last. Were like you mentioned, the President Trump did him. I'm not sure, how that correlates to him getting the lifetime ban lifted. And then the other sort of silly thing about it is he also lifted the ban with Shoeless Joe Jackson, and Joe Jackson's he hasn't been with us for over 70 years, so they tied the two together and sort of decided that now is the time to give these guys an opportunity to potentially get into the Hall of Fame, because let's not forget, this is still several years away from even getting to the conversation and writers to vote on it. But it is ironic. That's a good point you made. Let's not forget, Major League Baseball has made a lot of money on Pete Rose throughout the years, and that whole saga. Again, it's kind of a stain on the game, fortunately. But we'll see what happens. There's no guarantee he gets in. Personally, I like to see him get the opportunity to get in, or at least get the potential votes to see if he gets in or not. But as far as the 1919 Black Sox, I think, look, guys, that was over 100 years ago. Life back then was much different. So we'll see what they intend on doing, but it'll make for a good debate until December of 2027.
Absolutely, man. The allure of throwing a World Series, I don't know if even as I try to be a baseball purist, I could find myself to look past that. But there's another book that tells us that we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. So it's kind of hard to sit here and keep waving the flag to keep certain people away from getting their due recognition. I mean, we can even get in the weeds a little bit and talk about Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds if we had to. You take away Barry Bonds' MVP season, and he still has better stats than probably some of the guys who have gotten in recently over the last 20 years. But that's a conversation we can have maybe the next time we link forces and do another crossover episode. Again, we're talking with Nico, a romantic about baseball. So you mentioned that you're in a area where there are very few Mariner fans, and I'm kind of the same way. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tell us what it's like being a Mariner fan away from the hub of Seattle, and how you still get your fix in.
It's funny, man. So yeah, I'm from the north, so I'm a long ways away from Seattle, Washington. But as you guys know, you guys are baseball fans, you guys are sports fans. The Boston and New York markets they're tough. You know what I mean? The fan bases are brutal. And growing up playing the game of baseball, loving the game of baseball, um, got aligned with the Mariners. I really enjoyed. You mentioned Edgar Martinez. I love those '90s Mariners teams with Edgar Martinez, Joey Cora, Jay Buhner, all the way up to obviously Ken Griffey, Ichiro, King
Trader
Felix.
Martinez. Don't forget Trader Martinez.
Right, that's right.
That's my name for
But yeah,
Cheeto. Trader.
it's a love hate with the Mariners because we're as fans, and you guys can speak to this even more than me. You guys are, you guys have more West Coast feel than I do. We love the team. We support the team through thick and thin, and they've left so much for us as fans because they just made the playoffs a couple of years ago after a significant drought, and it seems like every year the Mariners excite us and let us down. Again, I don't want to harp on that too much because I'm optimistic about the team this season and what we got going on in that rotation and some of the guys in that lineup. It's exciting, sitting here on May 18th, being in first place with Texas and Houston behind us. But we know it's a long season ahead of us, and I like I said, I love the team. I follow the team, and I grew up, enjoying the players, and I just been a Mariners fan since. And I'm just waiting for the day that we can make a little playoff run and bring some excitement in the city that really could use it.
This
Absolutely.
area gets on fire when the Mariners are good. But I gotta say this, man. Jerry Dipoto is a lucky dude that he works in Seattle opposed to that New York, Boston type of media market, man, because these guys get it so easy from all of us compared to, like you were saying, the passion and anger at times that the Northeast fan can have.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge Dipoto guy. I wasn't a big fan when he was in Anaheim. Um, he's been known to be a big splash guy, right? I mean, you guys know that. He likes to make the headlines. He did it for many years, and now the Mariners have kind of been stagnant when it comes to free agent signings and making big moves. But he did build a hell of a rotation. I mean, if there's one thing we can lean on as Mariners fans is that they got a hell of a rotation, and some of those guys are on the shelf and they're still pitching well. Um, but with the Mariners, it's the offense. It's the offense, man. They gotta figure out a way to acquire a bat or two to make up the difference with that. help that rotation. Because, I don't know how long we can rely on, Jorge Polanco. He's having a great year. I love it. I love watching him play. He's been around, in a long time. Watched him in Minnesota. But we need another bat. I mean, you guys know that. We need to supplement that offense. Cal, the big dumper, has been great. Obviously Julio Rodriguez, he's a star, man. But he's sort of not living up to that hype, maybe like we thought he would. He got paid that big contract. But hey, we're sitting here, we're in first place, and there's a reason to be optimistic right now. So
Absolutely. I mean, you look at this weekend series, 5 runs, 4 runs, and I believe we won 7-1 today. I mean, 6-1 today. So you take a look at how this weekend we actually hit with runners in scoring position, and it was actually San Diego who had, well, they were 0 for 21 over the course of the weekends with runners in scoring position. That's something that we deal with on a weekly, being Mariner fans, and it gives us a glimmer of hope that once we do get Robles back, if the guys can stay as consistent as they were. It was tough to see Cal's on base streak come to an end with the golden sombrero today, but even in the ninth inning, he got up and gave us an RBI, so still found a way to be productive from him. And I've been harping for weeks that we need more out of Julio, and Tyler shoots and bail. I try to be understanding that it's still early in the baseball season, but we need the trend of him to be more consistent over a larger course of the season than just when we get to August 15th, because it just wasn't enough for us last year. But we're developing. The guy I wanted to give my shout out of the week to was good old Brian Wu, and his 2 performances this week, just pure domination. Don't want to quote anything incorrectly here, so I want to pull up the stats from how he performed, even though he didn't get the win in New York in the losing effort. Six and a third inning pitch, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, kept the Yankees at bay, just proved exactly why he is worth what he is to us. And then we get down to San Diego today, and just more of the same from him. Just a complete ass whooping domination performance from Mr. Brian Wu. 7 innings, 5 hits, gave up the early home run to Tatis, but went and got 5 strikeouts and just kept San Diego from being able to do anything. So with 3 starters down out of the rotation, I definitely think that Wu has proved his worth to even compete with Kirby as being our number 2. Now, that might be a little bit biased to me because I'm a big fan of LOG, the OG, DOGG. That's what I call Mr. Logan Gilbert. Some of y'all call him Walter. But Wu's been the man. And shout out to you, Sunday Evening Media. Wu has been the foundation of our team's attitude overall, and just come in and going up there, Tyler says, piss and vinegar type of attitude, and just, I'm here, I got my best for you, and I'm gonna kick that ass. What you say?
I love it. I absolutely love it from both y'all. And I just want to also touch on about Nico and romantic about baseball is we connected on social media recently, but I've actually been a follower for long, long before I knew who Nico was. So if y'all have any feelings about baseball and its history, go check him out and give him a follow. It's really good shit for any baseball fan. But yeah, man, uh, what a turnaround, RG and Nico. We go from what, a 1-5 homestand looking absolutely dismal, and then we come down to San Diego and sweep a team that I think is a legit World Series contender. So we know the Mariners have it in them. But I gotta ask you then, Nico, from your perspective, I think you're right. We all know we need some help in the lineup. Do we look to Tacoma or do we look across MLB to try to find that guy this year?
well, that's a good question. You know, knowing Depoto and kind of what he's done in the last couple of seasons, you can't help but think he's going to try to keep it internal and try to, like you mentioned, bring up some of these guys in the farm system. But my thing is, and I've been talking a lot about this on our show at the Romantic About Baseball podcast, is you've got the arms to make a trade, and I know it pains you to think about trading one of these guys because we love them all. They're all incredible pitchers. Um, But the one that I look at, and guys, don't jump at me, is I think it's Castillo. I think Castillo is the guy that could potentially, warrant a heck of a return. He's the oldest guy in that rotation. The contract, I'm again, don't quote me here. I don't know how many years left he's got on that contract, but he's sort of the guy I've been looking at since over the winter, that I think that could potentially be dealt. And again, like you mentioned, RG there, Brian Wu has been incredible. He's been incredible. I mean, in this series against the Padres, it's going to be one of those series where no matter how this season shakes out, we're going to look back and say, wow, we swept the Padres in May. Like you mentioned, the Padres are, they've been on a bit of a skid lately. We're not too sure what to expect with the Padres. They were very close to dethroning the Dodgers last season, and they pretty much have that same team and that dangerous team that they are. But it was a heck of a performance by the Mariners to rebound after that Yankee series that was really kind of, a messy series out of that one win that we were able to squander. So with the Mariners, man, I think they should flip an arm. I really do. And I think it makes all the sense. I'm not sure who's going to be available come deadline. I know Arenado is one of the guys that's available, who has a no trade clause, and he hasn't waived it yet. So who knows if and when he will. The Cardinals are winning right now, so maybe they'll keep him around for longer than they should. But I'm of the mindset that they're going to have to acquire a bat or two. And for the record, guys, I thought they should have went after Pete Alonso. I mean, look at what he's doing for the Mets. You're telling me you can't see Pete in the middle of that order? I really thought they should have went after him. But yeah, I think they should flip one of the arms, and we still have plenty of ammunition to make up for it.
I agree with you too. I thought that Alonso would have been a good move for us, but one thing that me and Tyler talk about is hard to have champagne taste with Kool-Aid budget, and that just seems what the Mariners happen to be working with. The rainy years were here in Albuquerque playing our minor league team, the Isotopes. So I told Tyler the rainy years did nothing but bounce balls off the side of my house all weekend. Just came up here and had 2 great days of putting on a power display, as well as a rehab start from Kirby. It's I for one, if you follow our show and some of the listeners can tell you, I'm not a fan of having a dominant minor league system, because what's the point of having that if they can't ever come up and do anything to help the big club? Are we in business for Modesto to keep winning championships, or are we trying to compete for one at the major league level? I think that there are some guys we could definitely bring up, and I'm okay with trading Castillo for it. There wasn't a way we were going to be able to get the bat that we need and keep everything in our pitching staff and then some of those highly taught prospects. But there's, like we also say here too, there's a reason why those guys get paid millions of dollars a year to make those decisions. And I sit on this podcast and just talk shit about every decision that they make. So, hopefully we can find the balance in that and get something done, just so we don't completely squander this window that obviously Jerry and the front office had worked so hard to build to really end up with only one playoff appearance out of it. Let me throw the mic back to Ty.
So I got a question for you, Nico, because Tyson Baxter, one of our homies from the live chat, he's always been telling us that he thinks that the Orioles, who are obviously riding the struggle bus hard right now, firing their manager already, but he's been saying that the Mariners and the Orioles need to make a pitcher for hitting type of trade. Do you see that as any possibility with any dudes on Baltimore? And I also want to ask you, just take away any sort of, is this guy going to be available or not? Is there any couple of dudes in the league that you would want the Mariners to target before the trade deadline that you think could help this squad try to make a real playoff push this year?
That's a good question with the Orioles. Obviously, the Orioles are a mess. I would have never imagined that they be sitting here, mid to late May, 15 games under 500. It's been rough in Baltimore. I actually was pretty high in that team coming into the season. But my question is, who would they really trade for? I mean, I don't know if there's anybody there that is enticing enough to let one of our arms go. I mean, is it, they're not trading Gunnar Henderson, they're not trading Adley Rushman. Is it Kauser? He's on the injured list right now. He hit, don't quote me, I believe, 24 or 25 home runs last season. But, it's not Cedric Mullins because he plays center field. We have a center fielder. It's probably not O'Neill. They just signed O'Neill to a contract. So I'm not sure that Baltimore is probably the best trade partner. I look at the Cardinals as a potential trade partner because that those guys are definitely selling at the deadline, or at least that's the impression that they've been giving us. They're sort of a team in transition. The GM's leaving at the end of the year. They've got a couple of veterans on that team that can be dealt. So I'm not too sure with Baltimore. I like the idea with the Cardinals. I can't help but think about Jason Dominguez and the Yankees, but I don't think Cashman will let him go unless you're going to get, somebody like a Paul Skeens back. But that's probably not going to happen. The Phillies are an interesting one. They team that they could move. Some of those Phillies could be on their way to free agents. That's Kyle Schwarber. Nick Canos could be on his way out. Alec, the guy that's been involved in a lot of trade rumors. So maybe there's a trade there for Alec Boehm, possibly. So there's definitely some trade partners out there throughout the landscape of the league. But they got to make a move, man. They really. My argument with the Mariners is this: they can have, say, the 15th best offense in baseball. With that rotation, you can't argue that's a playoff team. I mean, they're a playoff team right now as we stand, but if that offense could just be in that mid-range, we get some of these guys back off the injury list, I think we're a playoff team. That's what I personally think. And we'll see what Dipoto does. And I agree with you on what you said about Dipoto. If he was in New York or Boston, he would no longer be in New York or Boston with just that one playoff appearance. They wouldn't keep him there for that long. But you got to give him a little credit. I mean, he did break the drought. He was part of breaking the drought. We hadn't made the playoffs since 2001. So we finally got a taste, and we did win a series. We did beat Toronto, which was fun and exciting. Then we ran into Houston, which has been our Achilles heel for several years now. But I think Houston took a step back this season. I know they're hanging around, but that team doesn't look and feel the same as it did when, Alex Bregman was there, and obviously Tucker's in Chicago. So I think Houston took a step back. I think Texas is the team of concern for the Mariners. I think Texas is going to be there throughout the rest of the season. They got the best manager in the division, maybe the best manager in baseball, in Bruce Bochy. And that offense hasn't gotten started yet in Texas. They're still trying to get, on a little bit of a streak here. So I think Texas is going to be the tough one for Seattle to kind of keep up with. But yeah, I think there's a couple of trade partners for the Mariners, and off the top of my mind, the ones that pop are the Cardinals and the Phillies.
Well, we'll see how much sellers the Cardinals are. They're kind of hot right now, 12-2 in their last 14. So if they keep that momentum up, maybe that might change how they feel about breaking up the band and seeing if they can't make a run. My biggest thing with Dipoto is, for as much good as he's done, it's a results driven league, and everything that we do in life kind of reflects that. For all the time that he's been here and all the willing and dealing and plugging and growing and everything, I mean, we're still talking one playoff appearance through his whole tenure. And if I was Jay-Z and Nas in their rap battle, I would tell him I could divide. That's one hot album every 10 years. So we do need a little more. We need to be able to see more from it. And I joke with Tyler all the time that Mariners fans are victims of Stockholm syndrome, where we're falling in love with someone who's really abusing us, and we don't know the difference because it's really all that we know. But as the season continues to grow, man, we just hope for the best for these guys and that they can find a way to keep putting the solid at bats together, scoring more runs, not relying so much on the long ball and the analytics of trying to play for the 3-run home run constantly. And God, we need to get those 3 guys back healthy. Where the year can really only go as far as that pitching staff can hold us, because we know from history and how the Mariners have happened to perform, we're gonna hit a lull, we're gonna have a bad 7-game stretch, but we definitely need Kirby, Gilbert, and Miller to come back and do what they do to help dominate us. I got a question for you. Me not living in Seattle, I have my favorite Mariners moment and my least favorite Mariners moment. And I'll tell you what mine are if you share yours with me. So my favorite Mariner moment is obviously the clip of Griffey rounding third, getting dogpiled in the playoff game in the Kingdome. And probably my least favorite moment as a Mariner happens to be Game 6 of the 2001 ALCS. Just gripes me every time I think about it and look back at that game and look at the stats from it. Since you do a lot of reflecting on baseball past, and I know we're Mariner centric with the conversation, what are your favorite, most favorite and least favorite moment as a Mariner fan?
Good question, man. So there's unfortunately, a lot of bad memories as Mariners fans. I hate to say that, as a fan, you can't help but feel that there's been many more letdowns than not. Um, I'm a big King Felix fan. I think it's one of the saddest things that he was never able to pitch in a postseason game. It's like sort of the same unfortunate career that Mike Trout's having on the Angels. Obviously Trout's a little bit older now, and he's not the player he used to be, and he can't stay in the field. But getting back to your question, I think I got a couple moments, but sort of things I think about. The perfect game that King Felix threw. I don't have the date off the top of my head. It might have been about roughly maybe 12, 13 years ago. Does that sound about right, guys?
Mhm.
He threw that perfect game in August. That was an iconic moment. Anytime he pitched was iconic, I feel like, with the King's Court and the stands, all the passion he brought to that stadium. So off the top of my head, I think that the King Felix perfect game is probably one of my favorite moments. And you know what, guys, I really enjoyed Robbie Cano when he was a Mariner. I
Mhm.
really liked and I liked watching Cano and Nelson Cruz when they were Mariners. I know it never led to anything too promising, but I enjoyed watching those guys play on with our Mariners. And then I think one of the most frustrating memories as a fan is that game against the Astros. I don't know how many innings it was. It might have been like 15 innings when the Astros ended up walking it off in Seattle. That was a tough one to swallow, because you're watching the game and you keep thinking like, we're gonna win this game, and then unfortunately, I think it was it Alvarez that hit the home
Penny,
run that got the
Jeremy
Pena.
Penny.
There you go, Jeremy Pena, right? So that's one of the ones that pops up in my head. Um, but yeah, I mean, with the Mariners, it's like I said, I really enjoyed watching King Felix pitch, and I enjoyed. I mean, so many. I mean, we've had so many great players playing the Mariners over the years. Unfortunately, it never led us to any playoff, celebrations. But hopefully this year we can get into the playoffs and make a little bit of a run here with that rotation that we keep talking about and how special it can be. So, um, but yeah, I mean, 2001 Mariners. I was a lot younger, man. It was a great team. It was a fun team. 116 wins. You know, the Yankees. I tell you, they always get us, man. I don't know what it is with the Yankees, but they beat us up every time we play them, and whether it's regular season or playoff. I know not too many playoff experiences, but um, they got us in 2001. But but yeah, man, a lot of good memories watching King Felix on the hill for the Mariners, and I really wish he had an opportunity to pitch in the postseason, but fortunately, it never happened.
Well, that's how
Understandable,
it goes.
man. Understandable. Me and Ty have an argument back and forth on whether or not we believe that Felix deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he absolutely. I mean, look at his career. I mean, he was flawless. Didn't get as many wins because he never had the offense, but looking forward to the day that he gets the opportunity, and maybe he can join the coaching staff. I tell you, he's one of the all-time greats that wore the Mariners uniform.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Shout out to King Felix and King's Court and all those good memories that he had. And you're absolutely right. It was August 16th of 2012 where King Felix
Yeah.
Hernandez pitched his perfect game in what used to be Safeco Field.
No doubt. I just want to add to that perfect game was emblematic of Felix's career because I distinctly remember it was a 1-0 win. And that was his general support. Dude's got to
Yeah.
pitch a perfect game just to get a win.
There's a couple questions in here from you from the live chat. And then we know that you've had a busy day, so we'll get a couple more questions in for you and let you get on about it. And we do appreciate you being with us. Tyson Baxter says that this is the guy who's a Baltimore fan. He says their whole fan base was screaming for arms, and they have already DFA'd their big arm signing that they have. So the pain in Baltimore just seems to continue. And Mariners lifers ask, could the M's target Royce Lewis at the deadline? Him and Williamson could be a great 1-2 punch at the hot corner. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't think Minnesota's the hottest team in the American League right now. I don't think Royce Lewis is going anywhere. If you asked me that question a couple weeks ago, I would say that maybe there's an opportunity for a trade. I don't know about Royce Lewis; he's on the younger side, so I think Minnesota would want to keep him. Maybe some of those other guys could have been on the bubble there when you're talking about maybe Byron Buxton, the guy that I thought could be on the trade block considering Minnesota 2 weeks ago, but keep winning, man. Minnesota's the hottest team in the American League right now, and
Hmm.
it's sort of what we love about baseball, man. Every week is so different, and you just can't count any of these teams out. Same with the Cardinals. The Cardinals were a foregone conclusion and heading into the season, and they're playing competitive baseball. They're over 500. So, with the Orioles question, they need pitching bad. They don't have any pitching at all whatsoever, but their offense isn't contributing either. So I don't know if there's a match there with Baltimore. I think Baltimore. I don't know what's going on over there, man. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong in Oriole land. But I think with the Orioles firing the manager, and they got one more win than the White Sox. Let that sink in. You know what I mean? They got
Oh.
15 wins. Those losses are racking up, and just be happy that we're not Orioles fans today. But
Well,
yeah,
let's not
so
talk
I
too
don't I
bad.
don't think I don't see Royce Lewis in a Mariners uniform anytime soon.
Man, let's not talk too bad about the White Sox because we do got 3 against them. That starts tomorrow. And that's the worst thing that we can do is go up to the South Side, lay an egg, and then just make that series over the weekend with Houston just that much more important. Ty, anything else you got for Nico? And then let's see if we can let him get to rest. He's had a long day already.
That's Nico with Romantic About Baseball Facebook page and podcast. I've been a follower for a minute now. Y'all should be too. But man, there's a guy that surprised me this year, and I was actually at the ballpark at T-Mobile when he made his debut. Logan Evans was not supposed to be a big time stud when he was drafted, but it looks like that's what he might be. Do you have any thoughts on this young pitcher and also Emerson Hancock, just because they're two young guys trying to make their way? And I think most everybody knows the top dogs in the Seattle rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, man, the Mariners are just becoming a pitching factory. I don't know how they're doing it. This it wasn't like this, 10 years ago with the Mariners. And you look at Hancock, and he's been incredible for them. I mean, like I said, they're winning games. They're sitting over here at 26 wins, and their marquee guys are not even there. So it's a credit to the program. I mean, you got to give them credit. You got to give Jerry DePoto credit, as much as that's hard to do. He's just absolutely put together a hell of a staff. Like you mentioned with Evans and Hancock. So I think the sky's the limit, man. It just makes me feel even more confident that they have to flip one of these arms, and acquire some offense, because it's a luxury right now for them. And the sooner that they can do it, the sooner we can digest it and move forward. Because I do think it's inevitable. Um, with that being said, they haven't done it yet. They've been kind of stubborn about it. They don't want to move those arms, but let's be frank, guys. They need more offense. Need more offense. I'll keep saying it. I don't. They can be 10 games over 500 going into September, but they got it. They got to get a better offense put together.
Absolutely, man. Completely agree. Completely agree with you. I go back to last year's beginning of the first nail in the coffin, and we were up 10 games on June 18th. And by the time we got to the All-Star game, Houston had chased us down and eventually passed us. And again, we end up one game short. Again, we've been rocking with Nico from Romantic About Baseball. Make sure you follow him. Go on ahead and tell the people they can find you out on your socials, and plug your show again, man.
Yeah, guys. Hey, listen, man. I appreciate being on, man. This has been a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a real treat to talk some Mariners baseball with you guys, and really look forward to some future content. If you guys are open to it. Again, we're Romantic About Baseball. Our content creator is Jason Wood, um, and we are on Facebook. We've got the Facebook page. We're also on Instagram, and we have the Romantic About Baseball podcast. Again, like I mentioned earlier on the program, we're on Apple, Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. So check us out, guys, and we appreciate all the support we're getting, and we hope that you guys can continue to grow and talk some Mariners ball as well as some other stuff. I know you guys talk some more sports, which is great, and I look forward to chatting with you guys in the future, and hopefully we can next time we talk, the Mariners are still in first place, and the team in second place is under 500, so we have a huge cushion going into September.
Absolutely. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see us run away with it like we did back in 2001. I'm appreciative for you taking the time out to rock with us, man. Thank you for what you've brought to us on the show today. And look forward to being able to collab and have a couple more crossovers as we both try to make our niche in this podcast media world.
Absolutely, guys, man. Thank you so much having me, and I look forward to our future conversations.
Thanks, man. Romantic About Baseball, y'all. Romantic About Baseball. Check it out on any socials and any podcast platforms. I've been a follower for a minute now. But RG, that was cool.
Man,
And I love getting other perspectives, man, because in many ways, I'm up here in my Northwest cocoon and I'm talking about sports, social issues, everything. We kind of don't know what goes on. We're kind of like in a liberal cocoon up here. But that's neither here nor there, man. How about the Mariners, dude? I want to get your feedback, dude. It's been a bounce back week, man, because I was feeling like this team might be about to take a nosedive just a few days ago.
man, it was. It definitely was. And like I said, I want to make sure I gave Brian Wu his flowers. We needed that. And he kept kept us afloat in New York. Although we didn't win the series, he kept us from his performance, helped us from getting swept. And then today, just to come out and prove that he absolutely deserves to be in the top three in the rotation that we've had. And a guy who continues to beat the allegations, Rowdy Tejas, man. Just happy to have that guy's bat. Um, Arozarena got hot. Even Garver had a good performance today. Shout out to my Albuquerque boy. Consistency is just all it comes down to. If we can continue to be consistent, we'll have a good shot at trying to get back to the promised land at the end of September.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I also want to just give Luis Castillo a little bit of a shout out for earlier in the week. It wasn't perfect. He was scattering hits and getting out of jams, but Castillo gave us a damn good chance to win the ball game in game 2 versus the Yankees. The bullpen and the lineup let us down there, and he's got a big start coming up because you're right, man. You sleep on the White Sox, you can lose to anybody in baseball. I don't care how shitty they are. White Sox or even the Rockies. So you got to come in ready to win. So we need Castillo to right in the ship, though, man. Whether we want to trade him or keep him, he's kind of been up and down, and we need him to perform. It's really just that simple, man. But dude, talk to me. 26-19 in first place, still 2.5 ahead of Texas and Houston. We got to keep rolling, man, because those teams are not going to lie down.
And we have Houston coming up at the end of this White Sox series. So buckle up, grab a Tylenol. You may need one, man. This season about to get rocky.
Oh,
A lot
no doubt.
going on. A lot going on in the sports world today. 2 game sevens, one in the NBA, one in hockey. We had the final round of the PGA Championship. Just some quick thoughts of what you thought about the sports weekend and the excitement built into it.
Well, I mean, we got to keep it real here. You know, I'm hating outside the club, talking shit about everybody that's in it because OKC dismantled Denver, moving on to the Western Conference Finals. I'm a huge Sonics fan. I will always be a huge Sonics fan. You know that about me. That's why your OKC digs actually hurt a little bit. But that's a damn good team. I think Minnesota's for real though, and I think Minnesota's going to shock some people and get it done. And one thing we see about the NBA over all these years, RG, is you almost always have to, as a young team, make it a couple times, take your lumps, and come back. So hopefully Minnesota's taken their lumps and come back, and OKC needs to learn that lesson. That's just what I'm hoping for, though.
Well, it'll be a good matchup. You got the guy who a lot of people think is the front runner for the MVP, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and then the guy who a lot of people believe is the face of the league, and Anthony Edwards getting ready to go best of 7 for the right to play for the championship. I think it's going to be a fun, exciting series. I hope it goes 7, just so we can get to see these two young, high-powered teams going at it the way that we deserve to be. The matchup in the East, though, is going to be a good old-fashioned heavyweight fight between the Knicks and the Pacers. And the Pacers got one over on the Knicks last year and beat them in 7 to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. And now you have the Knicks coming back completely healthy. You have the Pacers healthy. Halliburton playing with a chip on his shoulder since he was called the league's most overrated player, and then banning his daddy from the arena. I love it, man. There's nothing more exciting than when a good legendary team like the Knicks and a legendary venue like Madison Square Garden is rocking on TV. You could feel the energy coming through that. Not to say that there's not a lot of people who support it, but unfortunately, whether you love it or hate it, there's nothing like a raucous New York crowd during a sport event. It's second to none, and we're gonna get to see that hopefully 4 times, and that series goes 7 as well too. Hockey right now, the Florida Panthers currently have a 3-0 lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Maple Leafs just scored a goal as I was updating you all on the score, bringing it to 3-1, 17 minutes left in that game for the right to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals in hockey to play the team who got rid of my Washington Capitals, the Carolina Hurricane. And we had some fun on the golf course today, even though we didn't get the full drama that the Masters gave us. Scheffler had a big lead. John Rahm fought back. And then what they call the Green Mile holes on that course just ate up the competition. And while it ate up the competition, Scotty Scheffler proved why right now he is the hottest golfer in the game. Did you get to catch any of that?
Oh, you know I did, man. You know I did. And to top it off, it was pouring rain for most of the day here in Seattle. So I come back from the driving range, and I want to watch some NBA. I really want to watch some PGA, and I want to check in on my Mariners. But don't get it twisted. I am not going to say Scotty Scheffler is Tiger Woods by any stretch of the imagination, but what he's doing right now is what I call the Tiger effect, and he's taking guys out of their games down the stretch because of how good he is. He's putting pressure on dudes. And what do I mean by that in golf? I mean, guys are trying to make shots that they really shouldn't be trying to connect with. You got Bryson DeChambeau on Saturday, round three. He goes in the water. He falls way back. And then John Rahm comes storming back on Sunday, but he gets a little too aggressive, can't make a couple of putts. And then what I'm really talking about is par three. You got the pond to your left. The only safe side is the right, but you're only going to par, maybe bogey if you go right. So he gets aggressive as hell, goes for the pin. It's in a pin placement where if you actually go for that pin, you will roll into the pond. That's what happened. Game over. But you're right. Scotty Scheffler, best golfer on the planet, man. And there's been a lot of shit talking about Liv. There's a couple of John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. That money ain't affecting their gains, man. They're bringing it.
No, not at all. I don't know if I could give Scheffler the honor of saying that he has the Tiger effect on people. I personally thought it was more the challenges that the course presented than them looking up at the leaderboard trying to find a way to catch him. Because for all intents and purposes, I mean, Rahm did that. Rahm did what he had to do, and him playing, I thought he fell victim to the difficulty of the course instead of so much the difficulty of Scotty. But to give Scotty his due as well too, during those set of holes, the average was -2, and he played it going into the day at -8.
Mm.
So he was able to let skill overtake where these guys were pressing to not fall victim to like hole placements and things. And I thought it was brilliant them placing uh some of those holes where they did, placing it right on the crown where it had to be dead on or you were rolling. And they also saved a lot of people from letting the grass on the end of the fringe be long to keep a lot of people from going in the water. Because if that's in Augusta with that manicured field, splash downs all day. But again, not to take away from anything that he's done in his greatness that he's shown over the last few years. He is the hot thing in golf right now. But if we're looking at it from his totality, he's tied with Jordan Spieth for the amount of majors that he's won.
Yeah, no
Still
doubt,
has
no
a long
doubt.
way to go. Still has a long way to
Correct.
go before he can even be as good as Phil Mickelson is. But it is good to see someone back out there who can almost play bully golf and give you guys something to give those guys something to chase at on a Sunday. It's makes for good TV either way.
No doubt, no doubt. And we got to keep it real here. Scotty's performance the last year and a half to 2 years has been nothing short of incredible. But for him to actually sit at the table with Tiger, he needs 11 more majors and about 11 or 12 straight years as world number one. That's what that Tiger did. That shit is just unbelievable when you see how hard it is for guys to maintain this top dog status in the sport.
14 majors, over 82 wins, and Tiger still is number two to Jack Nicklaus. So it's tough, man. It's just real tough. Man, really appreciative to Nico for coming on and joining us today for this special crossover episode. Um, we try to not harp full hours on the Mariners, but because we could talk Mariners all day, we do love the energy that you bring us in the live chat, being able to talk certain topics. But the Mariners are what we started this thing for, and every now and then it's good to kind of go back to where we come from and spend some time talking about the thing that brought me and Tyler and Indy's friendship together, and that's the Seattle Mariners. So we thank you all for being with us in the live chat and joining us for this special crossover episode. Anything else you want to talk about today?
Yeah, there's one more topic we got to get to, bro. The Dallas Mavericks made one of the most shocking trades in NBA history earlier this year, and there is major accusations of a frozen envelope situation. I kind of buy in, not fully because I don't know, but talk to me, man. I know you like to put on your tinfoil hat at times.
1.8% chance to win the number one pick. That is the same percentage of strikeouts of times that Luis Arraez has struck out this year. 1.8%. 153 at bats. He's only struck out 3 times. 1.8%. Same chance of winning the Powerball, even less. Just what the NBA has done is they haven't done enough to not give you a reason to believe that fuckery is possible. They have a history of, oh my God, you just tried to pull that over our eyes in plain sight and try to tell us, how did it go? You pissed on our leg and told us it was raining. The NBA is great at that. Even going back to, like we were talking off mic, the 85 draft with the Knicks ending up getting Patrick Ewing. And what was real damning about them, even though everybody loves them and it was great content for Pat McAfee, LeBron almost let the cat out of the bag talking about the circumstances in which Cleveland got the number one pick to even draft him. We can go into Oklahoma, the league controlling the New Orleans situation with Charlotte and everything, and them giving themselves the number one pick to get Zion Williamson. We can talk about how they blocked the trade of Chris Paul to the Lakers. just a bunch of things that the NBA has done to not give you a reason to believe that the impossible can be the impossible. But also at the same time, the amount of work that would have to go into that to pull it off is something that I don't really think the juice is worth the squeeze. So we kind of have to shoot them a little bit of bail here. But if you're Nico Harrison, people are ready to burn your house at the stake for the last 2 months. And all of a sudden you end up with the number one pick. Like saving grace for you to help keep the Lakers relevant. Just a lot of dots could be connected, man, but who truly knows?
Well, they'll take it to their graves. I guarantee you that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we know
Absolutely.
David Stern literally took it to his grave. So, and I'm sure that guy's got some real good secrets about the NBA, man, for real.
All day.
All day, man. We
All
could go on
day.
forever with NBA. Oh shit! My favorite sports controversy ever: Tim Donaghy fixing games for the mob, bro. So we can't. I'm not trying. I'm not one of those persons. There's a lot of people on social media, bro, that are absolutely 100%. It is rigged. I'm not gonna be like that, but you would be naive to not think that there is a decent possibility.
The illusion of it, and what I love about some of some of the things that come in the content world is the people who are able to go back and find receipts. There's an interview where they sit down with Kobe and they asked him if the 2002 Western Conference Finals was rigged, and he says yes. He says it was rigged. He said he had to say yes to that because of the point where Tim Donaghy had his hand in some of the decisions that we're making. But rigging or not, the Kings still missed 23 free throws that allowed the Lakers to be able to come back in it. It's interesting. Well, my favorite one from the David Stern era is the 2 years that Michael Jordan had to take off. And it's a little insensitive because you do have to tie in him losing his father to it, but just the way that all of that just happened to come around, I really think that there is more to the story to be told. But like you said, some of those players are no longer with us, and those secrets have been taken to the grave. So
Yeah.
always interesting food for thought. I think it makes things a little bit more interesting, but you know. I would say the same thing about the presidency. And me and Andy have had this conversation on top of the mic. If you really think that the United States president is the most powerful man in the world, you have no idea what's going on.
Follow the money. Follow the money, people. And that's what we do on pro sports too, man. These dudes follow the money, and absolutely they should, bro.
Too much to not pay attention to. Too much to not pay attention to.
No
Let's see
doubt.
here. Trey Williams threw up. He said we think about Brock Purdy, 250 millions with the no trade clause. I looking at his stats and listening to him break down what he's done since his debut with the Niners. I think he's absolutely has earned every dime of that. The best stat that they threw up that I thought was the most interesting of it is that the $53 million a year he's being played. If you added up all the players who have been who have been drafted in the Mr. Irrelevant spot throughout the course of history, they've all made a total of $53 million.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good
Yeah,
for him,
but that
man. Believe in
good,
yourself.
absolutely good for him. But believe in yourself. I still cheer for the advancement of the human spirit, even if you play for a team that I really don't like. And
Well,
for
like
all
these
the
guys
San
are talking
Francisco
shit, man.
fans, hey, for all the
Yes.
San Francisco
Yes.
fans talking all that shit, I'm gonna remind you, your shit talking got you no Super Bowls, and we did what you couldn't do and beat the shit out of Patrick Mahomes on national TV. Kiss my ass,
You must like the Eagles or something. Shit. Fly, Eagles
just a
fly.
little bit, just a little
Seahawks
bit.
are going to soar higher this year, dog. I just want to give one more shout out, dude. You called it before it came. The best catcher in baseball, Captain Clutch, Cal Raleigh, hitting 333 on the week. The dude just keeps getting better and better. And by analytics, by WAR, he's like a top 5, top 6 player in all of Major League Baseball, and I think he's worth even more than that to the Mariners. So let's fucking go, baby. It's baseball season, and I absolutely love riding the roller coaster, man.
Um, there was a stat that they had on right before we went on air of um OPS pluses of 100 or better out of 50 minimum out of 50 minimum plate appearances. The Yankees have 9 of those guys. The Mets have 9 of those guys, and they're tied for baseball with the most. But they're tied with the third team that also has 9 guys with the OPS plus of over 100. Can you tell me who the third team is?
Is it the Mariners?
The Seattle Mariners, baby.
Dude, these analytics love home runs and walks because that's what this team does.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. But again, it's a good time. Had a good week. Good week cheering with sports, man, and just enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. That's what it's here for, to bring us excitement and not get too much into the weeds. Texas Power Ranger says it won't last forever, man. Hey, you're just because you're feeling the effects of giving Marcus Simeon $300 million and that dude's hitting a $180. I don't want to hear
We're coming. We're coming.
it. Anything else you got for the people?
Shout out to the live chat, man. We love the fire y'all bring.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't do this without you. This has been My Oh My, it's another sports podcast brought to you by the good folks of Vated Podcast Services each and every Sunday for the live broadcast here on YouTube. Big shout out to the super producer, Indy, making us do what it do, making us sound like $1,000,000, man. Couldn't do any of this without it. We also want to give another special shout out to Nico from Romantic About Baseball. And thank you for joining us for your time today, Mr. Nico. Don't forget, if you can't join us on the live show here on YouTube, the recording of this podcast does come out Tuesdays, wherever you like to get your favorite podcast from. A big shout out to our social media director, Ms. Casey Matsumoto. Thank you for all you do, giving us that online presence and all the work that you put in to keep us relevant. Don't forget to follow us on our socials at My Oh My ASP. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, Tinder, OnlyFans, so you can see a picture of Tyler's feet, because you know that's what he likes to do in his off time when he's not running around with UPS. Making the impossible happen, dog. That's how you was able to afford that new house, but I ain't gonna tell nobody.
Eh, hey, man, we all got to have a side hustle. We all got to have that side hustle.
I ain't gonna tell nobody else. Man, for those of you in the live chat, we appreciate you guys for always rocking with us and making it do what it do. Again, none of this can happen without you. That's the homie Ty Talks representing Little Lake Stevens, Washington. Big shout out to super producer Indy at the mothership in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm your boy RG, always repping the Cinco Cero Cinco, and we thank you for joining us each and every Sunday for another live episode of My Oh My. It's another sports podcast.